Hello everyone, I hope you are doing very well. So, welcome to this class. Today, we are going to discuss the topics of this chapter, that is, some basic concepts of chemistry. In this chapter, in some basic concepts of chemistry, as you know, in the previous class, we have discussed some points. Actually, in the previous class, we have discussed the classification of matter. I want to recall the previous class points, then we will start this today's session. Okay. So, matter is something that has some mass and occupies some space. And in the previous class, I classified the matter. What is a matter? You know very well. What are the examples of matter? You know the examples of matter. And matter is classified into two categories. One is pure substance. One is pure substance. And another is a mixture. Another is a mixture. Pure substance is also categorized into two categories. One is element and another is compound. Similarly, mixture also categorized into two categories. One is homogeneous mixture and another is heterogeneous mixture. Another is heterogeneous mixture. Heterogeneous mixture. The interesting point is that I told you the definition of pure substance. What are elements? What are compounds? What is a mixture? What is homogeneous mixture? And what is a heterogeneous mixture? Elements are the simplest pure substances and compounds are formed due to the chemical combination of elements in a fixed ratio. I told you the definition of homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixture, right? In homogeneous mixture, uniform distribution of particles, uniform composition is there throughout the sample. But in a heterogeneous mixture, non-uniform distribution of particles and non-uniform, you can say, composition throughout the sample will be that. But in this class, I want to discuss some important points regarding solution. In homogeneous mixture, basically we will discuss solution. And heterogeneous mixture also categorized into two categories. One is colloid and another is suspension. So in today's class, I want to discuss first of all the properties of solution, colloid and suspension. If you are saying solutions are homogeneous mixture, so you are mean to say that solution is a homogeneous mixture and the particles are uniformly distributed. But in colloid, particles are non-uniformly distributed. Non-uniform distribution is here. So these are some previous class points, and in today's class I want to discuss solution, colloid and suspension. In the previous class we had discussed matter, pure substance, mixture, homogeneous, heterogeneous and pure substances categories like elements and compounds. Okay, so let's begin with the class. So let's discuss the properties of solution, colloids and suspension. Properties. So I want to discuss the properties of solution first, and similarly I want to discuss the properties of colloids parallelly and also suspension. What is an example of solution? What is an example of colloids? What is an example of suspension? You know, solution is a homogeneous mixture. Colloids and suspension are heterogeneous mixture. Colloids are looking like homogeneous, but actually they are heterogeneous mixture. In colloids, two phases are there: dispersed phase and dispersion medium. Similarly, in solution, solute and solvent are there. Okay, we are not going in detail of solute, solvent, dispersed phase, dispersion medium. I am just telling you the properties. First is like it's a homogeneous mixture, and these two are heterogeneous mixture. And similarly, this is also heterogeneous. particles settle down in case of suspension only. So particles settle down, not settle down. Not settle down, and particles settle down in case of suspension, right? When left undisturbed, particles will settle down. The particle size of solution is very small, and it is not possible to see the solution particles with the naked eyes, and which is like less than 1 nanometer, or you can say less than 10 raised to the power minus 9 meter. The particle size of colloids is in the range of 1 to 1000 nanometer. So it is not possible to see the particles of colloids with our naked eyes, but they can be visible by microscope. The particle size of suspension is large enough, and they are visible with the naked eyes as well, like greater than 1000 nanometer. Greater than 1000 nanometer. Solution example, you can take salt in water, sugar in water, right? Vinegar, etc. I'm writing only one example. Colloids example like paints, clouds, fog, etc. Milk. You can write fog as well, right? When water droplets are present in air. Suspension like sand in water, chalk powder in water, etc. Solution cannot show Tyndall effect, can't show Tyndall effect. Tyndall effect, it means the scattering of light by colliding with the particles of that mixture, right? Scattering of light is not possible in case of solution because the particle size is very small, and light, they are not able to scatter the beam of light to get a visibility of the path in the mixture. But colloids can show Tyndall effect. Their size is large enough, they can show Tyndall effect. Show Tyndall effect. And also suspension may or may not show Tyndall effect. If the particles are not settled down, they can show. If the particles settle down, they cannot show the Tyndall effect. So may or may not. So similarly, solution cannot be separated by using filtration process, by filter paper. Colloids, there is a special filter paper, and we can separate the colloids. And suspension particles can be separated by using the filtration process. So this is about the properties of solids, properties of suspension, colloids, and solution. Okay, now I want to go to the next topic, which is the properties of matter and their measurement. What are the properties of matter? So some properties are there, like physical properties and chemical properties. Physical properties, like you can say color, odor, smell, melting point, boiling point, density, etc. These are the properties. You know, every substance, every matter has unique or characteristic properties, and they can be categorized into two categories: physical properties and chemical properties. Physical properties like physical change, you can say, or chemical properties, which is it like chemical change. Chemical properties like composition change, combustibility, reactivity with acids and bases, etc. This is about the chemical properties. Physical properties actually measured or observed without changing the identity of the composition. Without changing the identity, we are not changing the identity of the or the composition of the substance. Suppose I have this pen. If I want to check the color, yes, this is black in color, right? And this is solid, like that. Okay. So physical properties can be measured or observed. We can observe the physical properties without any change in identity. Okay. And also I have not changed any type of composition of this substance. But the measurement or observation of chemical properties requires a chemical change to occur. Require a chemical change. So Physical change is for like physical properties, and chemical change is required for what? Chemical properties. For chemical properties. I hope this point is clear to everyone. Measurement of physical properties does not require occurrence of a chemical change, right? But the examples of chemical properties and which required a chemical change to occur are the characteristic reactions of different substances. They include like acidity, basicity, combustibility, etc. This is about the physical properties and chemical properties. The main point it is here, quantitative measurement. If there is any change in properties, so how can we measure quantitatively? So quantitative measurement of properties is required, REC, required for scientific investigation. Many properties of matter such as like length, area, volume, these quantities are mass, these are quantitative in nature, right? Suppose this pen has 10 gram mass, so we have to tell this pen has 10 gram mass, so this is quantitative, this is quantitative. So these properties are quantitative in nature. Any quantitative observation or measurement is represented by a number. I cannot say like this pen mass has grams. No, we require a number. 10 gram, 1 gram, 30 gram, 12 gram, whatever is the number. So any quantitative observation or measurement is represented by a number which is followed by the units. Gram is the unit and there is a number 10. For example, the length of a room can be represented as 6 meter, where you can see the 6 is the number and m denotes the meter, the unit in which the length is measured. Meter is what? Meter is the unit in which the length is measured. The next and interesting point is that earlier two different systems of the measurements were there, the English system and the metric system. The metric system, which originated in France in the late 18th century, was more convenient as it was based on the decimal system. The metric system was more appropriate or convenient. Later need of a common standard system was felt by scientific community, and such a system was established in 1960 and is discussed in detail below. That is the International System of Units. It means we like the IUPAC name, na, International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry, standardize the IUPAC name of organic compounds. Similarly, the International System of Units standardize the units, right? That this box having length, width and breadth, so this is measured in like meter. There are some SI units. The International System of Units was established by the 11th General Conference on Weights and Measures. The CGPM is an intergovernmental treaty organization created by a diplomatic treaty known as Meter Convention and signed in Paris in 1875. The SI system, the International System of Units, has 7 base units. So we have to learn these 7 base units, and I will show you the table. These units pertain to the 7 fundamental scientific quantities. The other physical quantities such as speed, volume, density, they can be derived from these 7 base quantities. You can see the 7 base physical quantities and their units. You can see the base physical quantity, symbol for quantity, name of the SI unit and symbol for the SI unit. So there are 4 columns actually, and we have to learn each and everything. The first is length, second mass, third time, fourth electric current, fifth thermodynamic temperature, sixth amount of substance, and 7 is luminous intensity. The first is length. Length is the base physical quantity which is used to measure the what? That how much like distance, okay, which is used to measure the length of a particular substance. The symbol for this quantity is small l, and the name of SI unit is meter, which is measured in SI standard unit meter, and symbol for this SI unit is small m. Symbol is what? Small m. Mass, second is mass. Mass is the base physical quantity and the symbol for mass is small m. Name of the SI unit is kilogram and the symbol for SI unit is kg. The next is time. Time is the next base physical quantity and the small t is the symbol for this quantity. Second is the name of the SI unit, and small s is the symbol for SI unit. Electric current, I will be the symbol, capital I. Ampere is the name of the SI unit, and capital A is the symbol of the SI unit. Thermodynamic temperature, that is capital T. Symbol for name of the SI unit is Kelvin, and symbol for SI unit is capital K. Amount of substance represented by small symbol for this quantity is small n. Name of the SI unit is mole, and symbol for the SI unit is MOL. Okay. Next is luminous intensity. IV is the symbol for quantity. Candela is the name of the SI unit, and CD is the small c small d. Okay. CD is the symbol for SI unit. If the capital C and D is here, it will be cadmium. So the definitions of SI base units are given in this particular table, and SI system allow the use of prefixes to indicate the multiples or some multiples of a unit. Suppose I am saying picometer, so some prefixes are also there. What is this pico? Let's understand these things with this particular table. You can see the prefixes that are listed in this table. You can see the multiple, the name of prefix, and the symbol. So suppose I am saying 1 picometer, it is equal to 10 raised to the power of minus 12, and this is meter. So this is prefix. This is prefix. This is base quantity. So you can see 10 raised to the power minus 24 to 10 raised to the power plus 24. At minus 24, the prefix is yocto, symbol is small y. All symbols are in small letters, but I will tell you some symbols are present in capital letters. I will tell you those exceptionally symbols. Minus 21. And when you are moving from one prefix to another prefix, and while moving top to bottom in this particular table, you have to decrease, or you can say you have to add 10 raised to the power 3 in the above one multiple. So if it is written 10 raised to the power minus 24, just add 10 raised to the power plus 3, and you will get 10 raised to the power minus 21, which is named as Jepto, and small z will be the symbol, which is named as Jepto, small z will be the symbol. Then add plus 3 minus 18, Atto, small a will be the symbol, minus 15, Femto, small f will be the symbol, minus 12, Pico, small p will be the symbol, minus 9, Nano, small n will be the symbol, minus 6, Micro, small, not small, mu will be the symbol. This symbol is named as mu. 10 raised to the power minus 3 means milli, small l will be the symbol. If I am saying 1 millimeter, it means 10 raised to the power minus 3. If I am saying 1 millimeter, so with what do you mean by this? 1 millimeter. M is meter, M is milli, 10 raised to the power minus 3 meter. 10 raised to the power minus 3 meter. If I am saying centi, then it will be 10 raised to the power minus 2, and small c will be the symbol. If I am saying 10 raised to the power minus 1, then it will be deci, and small d will be the symbol. Then 10. So from here to here, you have to learn. Okay. At 10 deca, and da will be the symbol. Then 10 for 2 hecto, h will be the symbol. 3 kilo, k will be the small symbol, small k. 6 mega, capital M will be the symbol. 1 megabyte, so 10 for 6 bytes. 9 giga, capital G will be the symbol. 12 tera, capital T will be the symbol. 15 peta, capital T will be the symbol. 18 exa, just give me 1 second. 4 mega, the symbol is capital M. for giga capital G, for tera capital T, for peta capital P, for exa capital E. 10 raised to 21 means zeta, means capital Z will be the symbol, and 10 raised to 24 yoto means capital Y will be the symbol. Okay, these are the prefixes that are listed in this table. So by using these prefixes, suppose I am saying 1 decameter. So deca means 10. So you can say DA will be the symbol. Okay, so you have to know, if I am writing DM, so it will be decimeter. Okay, and if I am writing 1 DM, so it will be decameter. So 1 decimeter will be 10 raised to the power minus 1 meter, or 1 decameter means 10 raised to the power plus 1 meter. So you have to be learn these things very carefully. Suppose I am saying 1 femtometer, so it will be 10 raised to the power minus 15 meter. This is what? 15. You can see here 1 femtometer. Suppose I am asking 1 femtometer is equal to centimeter. So in 1 femtometer, 10 raised to the power minus 15 meter, and in 1 meter you can say centi, 10 raised to the power minus 2, right? So in 1 meter you can say, what is written here? 10 raised to the power minus 2. If I am saying 1 centimeter, then centi means 10 raised to the power minus 2 and meter. So you can put here in 1 meter it comes out to be 100 centimeter. So you can put here 100 and 10 raised to the power minus 15 to 10 raised to the power 2, and it comes out to be 10 to the minus 13 centimeter. It means you can say in meter the value is less, and in centimeter the value is more. Okay, negative, yeah, right? You can see negative 15 and you can see negative 13. 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. We have put this value 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So we have to subtract 10 minus 15 and plus 2. You will get minus 13. So 10 raised to the minus 13 is equal to 1 femtometer. Then let's understand the properties and their interconvergence. So the first one is mass and weight. Mass and weight, these are two different terms, but they are related to each other. You know very well, weight is equal to mass into gravity. It means the weight depends on gravity, but mass is a property, right? Mass is a property. If you are changing the gravity, weight will change, but mass will remain same. Mass will remain same. If gravity is 0, so you can say weight will be 0, but mass will not 0. If I am saying mass and weight, so you can see mass is nothing, that is the amount of matter present in. If any matter is existing, so definitely some mass is there. Definitely some type of mass is there. Some amount is definitely here. So mass of a substance is the amount of matter present in it. What is weight? Weight is the force exerted by gravity on an object. Weight is what? Weight is the force exerted by gravity on an object. Like weighing machine, you can stand over the weighing machine and you can check your weight. So that is due to the force exerted by the gravity on you, and your weight will come out to be according to this formula, W is equal to mg. W is equal to mg. If I am taking g value is 10, which is exactly 9.8, but I am taking 10, and suppose some person has weight like 80 kg. Okay, so you can see if 80 kg, or suppose I am saying 80 gram, according to that you can calculate the mass. If any object has weighs 80 gram, 80 kg, or anything else, so you can calculate the m value according to that, but the units must be same. Okay, if you are taking weight in kilogram and g in gram, it cannot be cancelled out. If you are taking weight in gram but g in kilogram, it cannot be cancelled out. So you have to be careful about that. Weight is the force exerted by the gravity on an object, and the mass of substance is constant, whereas weight may vary from one place to another place due to the gravity. Mass हमेशा क्या mass will always be constant, but weight may vary from one place to another place due to the change in gravity. Due to change in gravity. The mass of a substance can be determined accurately in the laboratory by using an analytical balance. So you can see this is the analytical balance. In this analytical balance, you have beam, rider carrier knob, rider carrier. This is pen. Okay, leveling screw, pointer and scale, beam release and pen release. This is named as analytical balance. If you have this analytical balance, you can determine the mass of any substance accurately, right? You can determine the mass of any substance accurately. The SI unit of mass is actually kilogram and having symbol small k and g, small k and small g. Its fraction named as gram. So 1 kg is equal to 1000 gram. 1 kg is equal to 10 raised to the power 3 gram. 1 kilogram is equal to 10 raised to power 3 gram. It means you can say 1000 gram. And it is used in laboratories due to the smaller amounts of chemicals used in chemical reactions. Due to smaller amount of chemicals used in chemical reactions. So you can use this analytical balance to calculate the mass accurately. And the unit of mass, SI unit of mass, International System of Units, according to that, the SI unit of mass is kilogram. Next is volume. Volume, you can say area into length will be volume. Area into length will be volume. Suppose the like area is measured in meter, so area unit is meter square and length unit is also meter, so volume unit will comes out to be meter cube. Okay, volume is actually the amount, right? Actually the amount of space occupied by a substance. How much space is occupied by a particular substance, that is known as volume. Suppose this pen is occupying this particular space, so what is the length, breadth and width this pen is occupying? According to that, we can calculate the volume occupied by this pen. So volume is nothing, that is a space occupied by any substance is known as volume. It has units of length cube like meter cube, centimeter cube, and in SI system volume has a units of meter cube. In SI system, what is the units of volume? It has a units of meter cube, or in another system you can say centimeter cube. We have some more systems like MKS system, like CGS system, etc. In chemistry laboratories, smaller volumes are used, hence volume is often denoted in centimeter cube or decimeter cube, right? Centimeter cube or decimeter cube. A common unit of volume is also liter, capital L, which is not an SI unit but it is a common unit, and it is used for the measuring of volume of liquid. Mainly liter is used for measuring the volume of liquid, but it is not like it cannot measure the volume of solids. Yes, it can measure. So some interconversions are there actually, right? Which with the help of these interconversions we can convert meter cube to liter, liter to meter cube, milliliter to liter cube, milliliter to meter cube, etc. So you can see here it is written here 1 liter is equal to 1000 ml, 1000 centimeter cube is equal to 1 decimeter cube. Let's understand this point very carefully. Suppose you have a water tank which is having 1 meter length, 1 meter breadth and 1 meter width, and having capacity of water is 1000 liter. So 1 meter cube will be 1000 liter. It means you can say 1 meter cube is equal to 10 raised to power 3 liter. So 1 liter comes out to be 10 raised to power minus 3 meter cube. Let's put 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter. So 100 centimeter into 100 centimeter is equal to 1000 liter. Centimeter into centimeter into centimeter, centimeter cube, or 100 into 100 into 100 means 10 raised to power 6 centimeter cube is equal to 10 raised to power 3 liter. Then it comes out to be 10 raised to power 3 centimeter cube is equal to 1 liter. 10 raised to power 3 centimeter cube is equal to 1 liter. Now, if you know decimeter, 1 decimeter. Deci means 10 raised to minus 1 meter. Let's put here 1 meter is equal to 1 by 10 raised to the power minus 1. So you can see 1 meter is equal to 10 decimeter. Put here, you can see 10 decimeter into 10 decimeter into 10 decimeter is equal to 1000 liter. So you can say 10 raised to the power 3 dm cube is equal to 1000 liter. So 1 decimeter cube is equal to, this is 10 to the power 3 and this is 1000, 1 liter, right? 1 liter. So you can say 1 liter is equal to 1000 milliliter. 1 liter is equal to 10 raised to the power 3 centimeter cube. It is written here 1 liter is equal to 10 to the power 3 centimeter cube. 1 liter is equal to 1 decimeter cube. 1 liter is equal to, you can see here, 1 decimeter cube, and 1 liter is equal to 1 liter is equal to 10 raised to the power minus 3 meter cube. I am repeating this point. 10 raised to the power plus 3 centimeter cube minus 3 meter cube, and 1 liter is equal to 1 decimeter cube. 10 to the power plus 3 centimeter cube minus 3 meter cube, and 1 liter is equal to 1 decimeter cube, or you can say 1 liter is equal to, if I will write here 1 liter is equal to 10 raised to the power 3 centimeter cube, 10 raised to the power minus 3 meter cube, and 10 raised to the power not 10, only 1 decimeter cube. Okay, if I want to say just convert 1 liter into 1000 milliliter, it means you can say 10 raised to the power 3 milliliter is equal to 10 raised to the power 3 centimeter cube. It means now you can see 1 milliliter is equal to 1 centimeter cube. Here again 10 raised to the power 3 comes, so it goes here. So 1 milliliter is equal to 10 raised to the power minus 6 meter cube, and similarly we have to put here 10 raised to the power 3, it will go here. So 1 ml is equal to 10 raised to the power minus 3 decimeter cube, 1 ml. Okay, 1 ml is equal to 1 centimeter cube, 1 ml is equal to 10 raised to the power minus 6 meter cube, and 1 ml is equal to 10 raised to the power minus 3 decimeter cube. According to this interconversion, volume interconversion, I have calculated these things. Okay, 10 raised to the power 3 centimeter cube is equal to 1 liter. Based on that, if I will put here 1000 milliliter, so 1000 cancel out, and 1 centimeter cube will be 1 milliliter. And similarly, if I will put 10 raised to the power 3 milliliter, so it will go here, and it comes out to be 1 milliliter is equal to 10 to the power minus 6 meter cube. If I will put 10 raised to the power 3 milliliter here, so 1 decimeter cube is equal to 10 raised to the power 3 milliliter, and 1 milliliter is equal to 10 raised to the power minus 3 decimeter cube. So these are the volume conversions. I hope you are getting a clear idea that how can we convert milliliter to liter, liter to centimeter cube to decimeter cube, and etc. So today we have covered physical properties and chemical properties, and we have covered some important terms like mass and volume and their interconversions, and the SI unit as well, and the prefixes, that we can put before the unit. We need a number, right? And if any multiple is here, so we can put the multiple as well. We know what is atto, what is exa, what is yocto, what is japto, etc. And in the next class, we are going to discuss about the temperature convergence, some questions on temperature convergence, and volume. Volume we have discussed, and density. Okay, so this is all about this today's class. Thank you so much, everyone. We will meet in the next class and with the discussion of the another interconvergence of these terms. Okay, so thank you so much. Have a great day. Good day. Take care, and see you soon in the next class.